Okay, we are recording. All right, well, welcome back to the Unreal or Adventure Media Podcast. I am Trent.
I am Christian.
And this is the first time we've done this in, 2.5 months now?
Yeah, it's been a while. Long enough to forget what we're doing again.
Exactly. Trying to learn this all over again. But so by the time you guys see this, all the UA videos will have aired, and hopefully you enjoyed them as much as we did making them. Definitely a labor of love. But we're here just today just to kind of talk about what we thought of the event overall, what went right, what went wrong, some memorable moments for us and things like that. And then also what you can expect moving forward with the channel. I mean, we're not going away just because this thing is a once a year and done sort of a thing. We're going to continue rolling with it, right?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, let's just jump into it. I mean, Christian, what were your thoughts on Unreal overall?
It's funny. I was just talking with Harry Wagner today. Our good buddy and UA photographer and just former staff member. You name it. All the good words for Harry. Yes. And he was asking me, it looked awesome. It looked like a lot of fun. How'd it go? And I said, and I don't mean this in a bad way. I'm like, it was just another UA. I mean, aside from the fact that I didn't feel like I had a big corporate sword of death and doom hanging over my head, ready to strike me down at any moment, it was just another UA. I mean, if we had just transported someone into the middle of it, they wouldn't know there was any difference than one from 6 years ago. So, that's a huge compliment, I think, to all the guys and everyone who helped put this thing on and just to, what it is, what this thing is and continues to be and will be.
Yeah. Well, but obviously it was very different leading up to that. I mean, you and I had a ton of work behind the scenes, in addition to just what we're used to doing. There was this whole setting up a business. There's this whole, that part of it was, that was different. But I have to say, just like you, it was almost eerie to me how normal it felt. Like once check-in day started, it was like, okay, here we are.
Yep, we know what we're doing. This is familiar territory, and
Yeah. And like you, I mean, it felt like there wasn't just this, well, at this point we were living and dying by our own consequences, right? We were having to answer to some sort of, like you said, corporate overlord. So.
Yeah. But on the other hand, when you get that hotel bill for,
right?
You're like, oh man, I missed that expense report. Where's that corporate card? Where'd that go?
Yeah, that T&E. Oh wait, I actually, we have.
Yeah. Oh wait, this is my bill. Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, there was that element, but yeah, I mean, I just felt totally at ease and comfortable, and just an immense level of gratitude for everyone willing to continue this thing with us. Especially our sponsors. Not to beat a dead horse, but what a great group we have in doing this, from the video crew all the way down to, the people behind the scenes back in the offices, like Mallory at Skyjacker, making sure all the t-shirts got there and the stickers and the swag, and, Roger driving the semi and just you name it. There's a huge support structure underneath this thing, and not to mention the UA alumni who are like, texting us and still a part of this thing. Sometimes many years after they've been on the event. So,
we're talking about you, Robert Keller.
Yeah, and Georgia Jackson sending the box of cookies.
Yeah, that was so cool.
Yeah,
that was so cool. Yeah, just so you guys know, I mean, I think we covered a little bit on the video, but Georgia Jackson, who was a reader last year and actually was
co-driving 2 years ago
or whatever, Well, she brought a whole bunch of cookies each time that she's been on the event. Well, she actually sent an entire box of cookies to us at the hotel, which was super awesome, which we enjoyed all week and everything. So much love to you, Georgia, for sure. So yeah. But yeah, and of course the cronies. I mean, they were just a well-oiled machine. We could not do it without. Certainly couldn't do it without the sponsors. Number one, of course. Certainly couldn't do it without the readers or whatever. But Christian and I, the wheels would have fallen off before we ever left the parking lot without the cronies. So hats off to all you guys.
Yeah, and we're gonna be. I'm getting ahead of ourselves in this itinerary for this podcast, but I mean, we are going to be reaching out and doing interviews with all of our sponsors, all of the cronies, and kind of some behind the scenes things. So in this video, if there are questions you have for a specific person from UA, throw them in the comments, and we'll know. Be sure to address that when we get to that interview.
Oh, 100%. 100%. So, all right. Well, I guess let's just kind of kick things off on the videos. I mean, I'm just kind of following our outline here, but the videos, man, we've said it before, we've said it again. I do not have enough good things to say about Ryan Foss and his crew. So you guys know, Ryan Foss is basically the mastermind behind the videos. He is he's one of the shooters. He's the director. He's essentially a producer. He's also the primary editor of this thing. And he was actually able to join us for the first time. So, sorry.
2019.
Yeah. So the crew that we retained for this year's Unreal Adventure is actually, it's the same production company, I should say, that we've been using for many years. So obviously they were very well known, or it was
familiar with it.
Yeah, known quantity. They knew what was going on or whatever. But Ryan did bring two shooters, although one wasn't Ben.
Ben was with us last year.
Okay, that's right. But then there was Nick was new.
Yeah.
On this one, but he's not
He's not new to this genre.
No, not at all. And so those guys were just absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Fantastic. It's not only like their technical abilities. Like there are thousands, not to belittle what they do, but there are thousands of technically proficient videographers and drone pilots and everything out there. What they bring to the table is attitude. They're fun. They're fun to be around. Yeah. And when you're not a on-camera personality, I was a writer for 20 years before I ever stuck my face in front of a video. They put you at ease. They're kind of, it's like, so instead of like talking to a camera, you just feel like you're talking to a buddy, as long as they're the ones holding it. And so I think they're responsible in a large part for the just the laid back feeling that these things have. And the other thing is, like, we're not scripting anything. We're not, okay, we have to insert drama here. And so they just get to roll with the punches as they see it. And I do like that, Ryan was, and Nick and even Ben were asking questions from behind the camera, quote unquote, breaking that fourth wall.
It's actually one of my favorite parts.
Yeah. It's like, I was thinking, that same question that you just asked. Thanks, cameraman Ben, or thanks, Nick, or thanks, Ryan. So, really enjoy working with those guys. I think I first worked with Foss 10 years ago, maybe 9 or 10 years ago, in a project for Motor Trend. And I think I told him and his crew just that exact same thing. It's like, you guys are awesome to work with. You totally put me at ease. Like, I'm not thinking about having the camera. I'm thinking about what I need to say. And then after a while, you're not even thinking that. You're just being natural in front of the camera. And I think that's the most important thing when we're doing these kind of videos, because I don't want to be some schmuck up there in front of, like, bebop, this is insert line here, and
we're gonna lose the shot.
Yeah. So minimal direction, roll with the punches, and Ryan just kind of has the overarching vision, and is able to shoot towards that vision, or, you know, if things don't play out that way, he's able to adapt his storytelling in a way that still is engaging and fun to watch and visually striking. We had some great shots this year, man.
Oh,
I mean,
dude.
the balloon, the drone shot,
Dude.
all those drone shots. I mean, you get spoiled. It's hard to remember that, you know, just like 5 years ago, we were doing this event without a drone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it just expands the visual impact of what we're looking at so much.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
So
when we're all coming in a caravan in the mine or whatever, and you get to see the fall foliage in the background, and love it.
Cool stuff. Oh yeah, for sure. So let's talk a little bit about what we've done differently this year. So first of all, first thing most everybody noticed is that they're way longer than they used to be. And of course, that is by design. What was the number one complaint that we got with the old videos, Christian?
Oh, they're too short. They're too short. And not only that, but, you know, we would do, it's a 7-day event, not counting check-in day. And we would do 5 videos. So we're lumping days together. You know, it's funny that people reading the comments, there are some people who either, you know, didn't realize what goes on in a road day or weren't that familiar with the format of the event. And so they're, you know, hey, why all the talking? And, you know, why isn't there more wheeling in this episode? And there's 2 reasons for that. 1, we're covering a road day. It's a road day. And 2, this year was a little more old school UA traditional in the fact that we didn't do a lot of wheeling on the road days. In the last 6 or 7 years, Trent, you and I have like built more wheeling into every day. So, you know, last year, for example, we wheeled every day. I think from 2018 back, we wheeled just about or 2018 on, I think we've wheeled every day. So yeah, this year, especially with the longer, you know, full length format for every day, you are going to see less wheeling on the wheeling days just because A, we're not doing it, and B, we're showing you a lot of behind the scenes stuff. You know, it's it's what UA is. You're coming along with us.
Yeah, the fundamental difference, I think, with what's different about this year versus years past is that in the past, the corporate entity that was running things just had certain metrics they wanted to hit, and that, you know, certain deliverables they needed to hit. We also had those same deliverables, but we had a lot greater freedom. And for us, the fundamental difference this year is that we were focused on telling the story. You know, it's not just gangbusters action all the time, you know, balls to the wall type stuff or whatever. We were very interested in telling the whole story and showing all these different personalities, how we interact with one another, how we get through these long days. And so, you know, I feel like the response was, like, by and large, very, very, very positive. I mean, the overwhelming number of comments were that, you know, thanks so much. You know, I feel like I was there or whatever. And that's like, to me, that's the ultimate compliment.
Yeah. That was the goal, is to bring the audience along as much as we were able to.
Yeah. Yeah. You're the, you know, the 25th car in the caravan, so to speak. But, you know, I mean, we also, you know, we had some people that were like, hey, you know, boy, it's just way too much talking, you know, less of this, more of this, you know, type thing. And we get it. And, you know, I feel like we did a pretty good balance of, you know, telling the story, but not belaboring the point. I don't feel like there was any point where we got excessively laggy or whatever. You know, that said, we are taking those comments into consideration. So one of the things we'd really like to know is, you know, tell us in the comments below. Tell us how you feel about the videos overall. Did we hit it right on the head? Did we miss the mark? You know, less talk, more action. As Christian said, unfortunately, this year really wasn't conducive to what we're really striving for a traditional UA to be, and that is, there is no road day. The fact of the matter is, this particular year, there was just such long physical distances that we had to cover that there had to be more traditional road days this year, you know, and some place like the Northeast, and even though I know there's the wheeling places are fewer and farther between in the Northeast. That's not to say that you can't string some stuff together and still make for some interesting trail within a road day itself. And believe me, that's something we're striving to do in the future. It's just not going to be able to happen every year because, again, we visit a different place, and you have to kind of cater the event around, the region that we're in, So
Well, it's also, like we're in Arizona one day and then we're in New Mexico the next. We just can't do that much dirt. You've got to hit 75 miles an hour just to get to the next location down there in the Southwest. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can't knock down a 400-mile road day and spend
3 hours, 5 hours on the trail.
Going, on the trail or whatever. It's just not going to happen.
Okay, air back up, everybody.
Exactly. So yeah, and we're, it's something we're striving to continue to strike a balance of. Believe me, we don't want to turn off the people that just want the hardcore action, but at the same time, we also don't want to forget the people that for years now have been saying, we just wish there was more. And so this year, we tried very hard to do more. So you guys tell us.
Small as opposed to 8 videos as opposed to 5. So
yeah, exactly.
One per day, and then also
the bonus video.
Yeah.
Which was kind of a 11th hour sort of a change. We decided to kind of throw that in there. And that's something that's never been seen before on a UA. There's never, other than maybe like during a credit roll or something like that, you might catch
if that. I don't even remember the camera guys usually have a beer in their hand finally, but that dinner, not a camera. So and then Trent and I are also discussing, making some additional use out of, we shoot all day long, sun up, sundown, and then even after dark. So we have more stuff that we haven't brought to, the videos yet. So looking into the possibility of maybe cutting additional content from UA 2024 and then make that a pattern going forward. Because, there are cool elements that we can share. It won't be a full 40-minute video, but it'll be a cool 5-minute segment on this part or that part, or so keep your eyes peeled to the channel.
Well, and like one of the ideas we had, and you guys let us know in the comments what you think, but some of those breaks and stuff like that, there's a lot more footage that we didn't show of each one of those breaks. Would you guys like to see like a 10-minute video just focused on a particular break and how they fixed it? Or
maybe one particular obstacle and see 10 or 15 vehicles try to, their hand in the lines they took and different methods of driving on that one obstacle.
Exactly. So, yeah.
Or more Tommy water balloons. Who knows?
Right. Exactly. Well, there's that. So overall, the video performance has been strong. I mean, considering that we started from nothing in terms on the YouTube channel.
I think when the first video dropped, episode 1, I think we had 3,500 subscribers or 4,000 subscribers. And the performance of that video did exceptionally well given the number of subscribers we have. And so, that lends a nod of acknowledgement and thanks to everyone who shared, posted about it, helped spread the word. That's the other comment I see a lot in our videos is, someone from Australia or somewhere else who maybe this is great. How is it more people don't know about this, or how is it these videos don't have more views? And it's like, well,
we agree.
Spread the word, man. Our megaphone's only so big here.
Yeah. So, but I'm pretty happy with where we're at. I mean, I would have liked to have seen the channel grow a little bit more than it has, but we still, as of the recording of this, we've still got 2 videos to go. And so hopefully we'll hit that mark that I had kind of just arbitrarily put in my head. We'll see if that happens or not. But regardless, we're going to keep moving forward. I mean, we're encouraged. I think all the sponsors are pretty happy with what we've done. And so, yeah, I mean, like I said, this isn't a vacuum. We're going to listen, guys. So let us know what you think for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, Well, let's move on to the event itself, and I'll start things off by saying it didn't start perfect. So so the day before check-in day, I had 9 people staying here at my house between cronies, readers. Christian was here. And then even some of the sponsors that weren't staying here.
Even people who weren't staying at your house were hanging out in your shop.
I mean, Brandon Carroll had basically where the Jeep and the Scout behind me are parked. Brandon Carroll had his rig all tore apart behind me. And so Christian and I were sitting pretty much right where I am right now. As a matter of fact, I don't think I ever took this table down from that night, but we recorded like an hour-long podcast, and it would have been
interviews with Jeff Ismail and Zayd Ismail and Tiger from Quigley, and we even managed to get Renee on camera.
It was super neat, and then we went back and looked at it, and there was no audio. It was
oopsie.
Oopsies. Yeah,
maybe podcasters.
That was an epic fail, but.
Yeah.
That sucked. That really sucked. But we did manage to rally, and we got managed to get through all the reader interviews, check-in day, which was good. But from there, I mean, I think that was the worst hitch we had the entire week, and that really wasn't a big one in the grand scheme of things, other than just being an hour's waste of time. So, but my thought here was maybe we just kind of walk through each day and talk about, what we remember as being most memorable, either on the day itself that maybe didn't make the video, or something we thought that was memorable about the video, or whatever. That's kind of what I was. That was kind of what I was thinking there. But I guess the other thing is, there were the check-in hotel. Let's just say the staff there was a bit challenging. At times, not from a being hard asses or anything like that, but just maybe just not as much on their game as they should be. But that was Christian. That was what, hotel number 5 or 6 at that point.
That's right? Usually one of my biggest points of frustration in doing UA is getting the hotel reservations all nailed down. And yes, this year it was exceptionally challenging. I don't know why. The facilities that we wanted to use either didn't have the number of rooms that we needed, or the parking lot wouldn't fit, 25 rigs plus a big rig, or they were doing renovations, or they just simply didn't want to take reservation blocks.
Yeah.
And so when you're booking 30 rooms, you have to have that reservation block, or it just turns into a mess. So yeah, that was a challenge. And so the one that we wound up utilizing was, it ticked enough boxes, but yeah, it seemed like it was their first rodeo.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe
they meant well. It
seemed maybe it was just a new property. It seemed pretty new. So I don't know, but
yeah,
but hotels this year were probably one of the biggest challenges. As a matter of fact, Montrose, oh my goodness, that was just an absolute poop show. I mean, I think we ended up like on plan G or whatever. We ended up splitting the group between 2 hotels that were separated by an Arby's between them.
Well, the problem was, and we didn't really realize it,
but it worked out
to the extent that it happens every year. But the leaf peeper season, I guess what you do if you live in that area is you stay in Montrose, and then you drive the $1 Million Highway. And that's your anchor point there. And so the hotels book up, months, maybe even a year in advance. And so the place we stayed though in Montrose, I mean, they were very accommodating.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, there were some snafus and stuff, but when you're dealing with a facility that's not used to having, 30 rooms show up at once to get their keys, it can be challenging. But yeah, they were nice to us. I appreciate them.
The facility itself, it was livable.
Adequate.
But it turned out, so because we had some special guests during
in the parking lot, yeah.
And
some creepy crawlers walking around,
including the maintenance guy at the hotel that actually lived there. We won't talk about that either. But we actually had some special guests for the victory dinner that ended up having to go home because there was no room. There was not a room to be had in Montrose, period.
Yeah. Drive an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours to get there, and then have to turn and burn after the victory dinner.
Yeah, and I guess we were very fortunate to get what we had. So,
but special thanks to Skinny Kenny for being our parking lot guard for one night.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So anyway, let's dive into this. We're already 25 minutes in.
Yeah. Well, day one, I remember it was hot. It was hot. Yeah. I love my S120. I absolutely love that truck. Adore it. But there is no airflow. And I've looked up, down, and sideways for a way to get that rear window to slide open to vent some of that hot air out. And so with no insulation, that hot air, the hot sun just beating down on it, it is a convection oven in there. And, by about halfway through day one, you're just used to it, right? You just get to a point and you're like, okay, I know how much water I need to drink not to die. And I know I'm not going to die. So it's just hot and uncomfortable, and I'm going to deal with it. And then I'm just going to laugh at anyone who gets in this thing next to me and says, it's hot, I'm dead.
I was ready to kick the windshield out of it.
But that's about what I remember from day one. And then after a while, everyone's coming up to me, Johnny Wood and Corey. It's like, we can put AC in this thing. You've got a compressor on the engine. I'm like, nope. At this point, I want it even hotter. Let's put the heater on. Actually, it turns out the heater was on. I didn't realize it was hooked up.
No, sweet.
The fan wasn't blowing. That heater core was live, and the trap door was.
I could have lived without that knowledge. Yeah. I appreciate that. Yeah.
I don't think it made any difference, given we had a 5.7 liter heater under the hood, throwing that back at us. So
that's true. That's true. Yeah, I mean,
that truck did really well. That was its. I had it out in, I had that truck in Moab for like 2.5 days on the trail before the steering box had an issue that made me put it on a trailer. And so that was its shakedown run. And so basically it was like a fresh build that first day of UA, which is par for the course with the UA builds.
Of course.
But worked really well. No overheating, no nothing. So that's kind of like my recollection of it is, okay, how's this gonna do? And after a while, after a couple minutes, I was comfortable behind the wheel again, and it was all good to go.
Cool. Yeah. No. So check-in day, it was unseasonably cool that day. So it was only, I think the high was like 87 or 88, that's cool for Phoenix that time of year, guys. But it jumped. I mean, it was right at 100, 102, something like that. The first trail day, and we weren't but 30 minutes down the road from where we had done check-in day. So it was pretty warm. I have always really enjoyed watching people, especially people that have never been rock crawling in the Southwest, to experience Arizona rocks, because that's what I live and breathe. Not necessarily in the Florence area, but I've got very similar rocks on my end of town. And so I really enjoyed that, and watching the learning curve and how you got to change from, either the Southeastern style or whatever to more of the West Coast or the Arizona rock crawling, because it really is kind of its own animal.
It's a precision undertaking. Like you're the Southeast wheeling, you're running full speed, putting your shoulder down and busting through the door. Like, the Southwest stuff, you're tiptoeing.
It's you're driving elegance.
So all finesse.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's probably the biggest thing I remember right now. As far as the video goes, I think one of my most favorite moments in all the videos was on that day one, when there was that back and forth between Riley and Steven from Offroad Design, where Steven spotted Riley in maybe not the best line possible, and he ended up skinning up the cab on his freshly built truck. And that whole exchange was absolutely priceless. That was one of my favorite moments of all the videos, I think.
What in the F did I tell you?
Yeah, I thought we had a better plan than that.
We're not that skinny. Let's go drive over Bull Rocks and hopefully not do that again.
So I'm kind of glad you guys are around because this is a little bit toned down from what I would probably get otherwise.
Yeah, it's funny too because we've talked to Steven about this in the past. He's a long time returning UA sponsor, and there's just never any drama out of the off-road design vehicles. They're like so well screwed together. Like they've got their game. I mean, they don't carry a wrench or a socket that the truck doesn't have a bolt that fits, and everything's got its own place. They are so squared away, it's ridiculous. And so to kind of get a peek behind the curtain that something, they're human. They are human. It was good comedy.
Yeah. And then the campsite that night, was really nothing special. It was just basically a big field out in the desert. But I thought it was pretty cool, and I guess that leads us into day 2. The biggest thing I can remember about day 2 is actually getting to that museum in Miami early and then being like, all right, sweet. Well, the guy should be here any minute. And then I'm waiting around, and it's now when the guy's supposed to be there. And it was like, well, maybe he's running a couple minutes late or whatever. Well, about that time, an older gentleman kind of wanders into, we were kind of in this half circle. The museum is in a historic schoolhouse, and we're parked in kind of this half circle in front of this place. And this older gentleman walks up and he's talking to different people. And I think he finally asked like, who's in charge? And they pointed at me. Some of the guys pointed at me, and he's like, so are you going into the museum? And I was like, well, yeah, they're actually supposed to be here right about now. And I haven't seen anything from them yet or whatever. And he's like, well, let me see if I can make a phone call. And so he gets his cell phone out. He calls and goes, yeah, Jim. Yeah. Oh, you're over in Phoenix. Okay, well, there's a group of fellers here that are waiting to get into the museum. Is there somebody else that could open up? Oh, okay. Oh, you're going to send Bob. All right. Okay. He's like, Bob will be here in 10 minutes. And so in small town fashion, probably a good 20 minutes goes by, and I'm almost thinking, because we got a long day, and I'm almost thinking, oof, I might have to cut this, because then just cut bait and run or whatever. But I'm still talking to this older gentleman, and everything. And finally, he hands me his card. And I looked at his card. He's the mayor of Miami. He's the mayor of the town that we're in. And I was like, well, no wonder you knew who to call. And anyway, very, very nice guy. And sure enough, Bob showed up, and Bob opened up the thing. And, when we came in there, and Jeff Ismail was actually kind enough to cover the entry fee for everybody, which was super awesome of him.
Jeff's always super generous like that.
Yeah. But kind of the nail on the head was when Bob was like, yep, here you are right here on the calendar. Yep, Jim just forgot about it. It's like, oh boy. So that's my little behind the scenes thing on day 2. Anything in particular that stands out for you?
Oh man, I just remember the scenery driving, either to Miami or from Miami. There's just some beautiful country there, especially when you get up in the mountains in Arizona. It's awesome. It's just a great place to go. And it doesn't matter if it's Arizona or Montana or wherever. I love getting off the beaten path and getting into those little towns.
Oh yeah.
And meeting people like, oh, I'm the mayor, by the way. It's like, no boastfulness or anything about it. It's just, I'll help you guys out. And it's, it really is similar almost no matter where we go universally in those small towns. Like people are just nice and, helpful and friendly. And, it kind of restores your faith.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. Yeah. And then later in the day, getting to see the Morenci mine, doing the Black Hills Backcountry Byway.
Yeah, the dirt road. That dirt road was rad.
And then, unfortunately, we were running behind enough. There was actually another stop I had scheduled that was actually much closer to the mine. That was basically a pullout, but the pullout has one of the engines, one of the beds, and one of the tires from those big dump trucks, like the
huge mining trucks, yeah,
or whatever. And I mean, you could have parked 2 or 3 UA rigs inside of that dump bed or whatever. And
I remember Usabelli in Alaska. They let us go right next to one of those, and I don't even think that was the big one.
Mm-mm.
But I mean, that thing dwarfed. Yeah, you needed a ladder to get up there, literally.
Yeah, well, in that same mine tour, we also, the entire group stood in the bucket of one of their front loaders.
Remember with plenty of room to spare. Yeah,
with plenty of room to spare. So big stuff there.
Mines are crazy.
So, yeah. So we managed to finally get to the Caballo Lake State Park pretty late. I want to say it was 10 o'clock, 10:30, somewhere in there.
I just remember rolling in there, and it was flat. There was grass and there was concrete. So you had your choice of where you laid your tent cot.
And it had showers and flushing toilets.
That was good.
And then so that brings us into day 3. Our buddy Brian Sumner was kind enough to be our trail leader there at the I keep calling it the Caballo area. That's not technically accurate. I don't know that the area technically has a name, but it's the wheeling area southeast of Truth and Consequences, New Mexico. It's kind of the new Las Cruces. I guess we could talk a little bit about that in terms of why, the original UA went to Las Cruces, and Las Cruces is actually one of the OG rock crawling destinations. I mean, the very, very first ever rock crawling championship ever happened in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And epic trails out there. And what's changed, unfortunately, is the most of the wheeling area, the original 4-wheeling area, is now within, not all of it, but most of it is within what is now a national monument that was declared so during the Obama administration. The name of the monument escapes me right now, but and what's really strange about that, and I just got this really weird vibe about it, is that several of the trails, not all of them by any means, several of the trails are actually technically still open. I was pretty hell bent on going there because that's where we went 25 years ago, and was prepared to jump through all the red tape, and but then there was going to be a lot of it. And when going out there, though, it was this very fishy, and I'm not saying anything other than what I observed, but even though this place is technically open to OHVs, there was no signage as such. The access trails were signed for biking and hiking, but not specifically for off-roading or not for OHVs of any kind. Even though it's it's legal. It's like it's on the map. It's even on BLM maps or whatever. But meanwhile, in the distance, so even though it's this very sensitive, leaning towards non-motorized, excuse me, guys, I'm getting over a cold. A very sensitive area. Within eyeshot of the staging area is this giant, they're basically taking down a mountain with dozers. Why or for what purpose, I have no idea, but it was clearly within the monument, and I'm not sure. But the bottom line was the red tape was unacceptable, and so we did just like the Las Cruces 4-Wheel Drive Club did and picked up and moved. And so that's
those are great trails though anyway. So it's, We gave everyone a flavor of the first UA. We didn't recreate it, and I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think I really missed anything. You know, day 7 was what I remembered. Day 1 was, you know, reminiscent of what I remembered, and kind of like same with Farmington. So I think we're good.
Yeah. Well, and I should say that the Truth and Consequences area is very similar to Las Cruces. The original Las Cruces, as I remember it, had some more waterfalls to it, you know, like steeper, nastier waterfalls, but still very technical. And but Truth and Consequences, very, very similar, just, you know, just different trails.
What I remember about that trail was you munching the fuel tank on your Blazer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and you were pretty bummed about that. I think you lost about 5 gallons of capacity.
At least 3, yeah. Yeah, I think I stove in a corner, but at least it wasn't leaking. So,
right.
But anyway, yeah, epic day there. You know, Brian, can't thank him enough for coming out there and leading us. That was great, and a good time was had by all. And we got to go right back to the Caballo Lake State Park, which was
that was
great.
Cool because everyone was, you know, you were coming back, camp was already set up. All you had to do is like attend to your vehicle and, you know, get your dinner going and stuff. And then that's kind of where you saw everyone's guard just, not that anyone had their guard up, but it was like, okay, hey, yeah, we're all together on this. And then you just saw everyone start mingling and getting together and talking and joking and laughing. And, you know, that's that, you know, one of those team building elements that I love so much about UA is where you go in, you know, many people come in as individuals and you all leave as one big family. You saw that kind of taking place that night.
For sure. So that leads us into day 4, which is the road day from Truth and Consequences up to Farmington. That was the big road day. That was 420 miles, I think. That
was what I remember about that one is all the dirt road. I think before we got to, was that the day we did the VLA?
Yes, that was the day
right before we got the VLA. I'm just like, we're out in front. So there's no dust cloud for me and Trent. Sorry, everyone else.
Right.
We're just, Trent just kind of like knocks me on my shoulder and we're wearing headsets so we can actually hear each other. He's like, you might want to knock it down a little. And I just kind of look at the speedometer like, ooh, going about 70 on this.
Mm-hmm.
The truck likes the motor. But so we got a little spread out thanks to me. But the scenery was epic, and that gave everyone a chance to kind of like let that dust cloud in front of them subside a little before they came into it. But man, what beautiful country out there in those New Mexico mountains.
Well, and to come across that VLA just out there in the geometric center of nowhere was pretty neat.
Yeah, like you see it on movies and stuff, and it's, you know, what blew my mind was how wide they can make it. So they'll actually take those antennas and put them on a rail cart, and you know there's railroad tracks all over that thing, and in like a pattern, they'll make it. I think, what was it, 25? It can go 25 square miles down to like real close together. And so usually when you see it in the movie shots, they're, you know, they've got them clustered relatively close together, so it looks more impressive. But I think, what was it? It was like medium the day we were there. Something like that. So it was somewhere in between, as wide as it goes and as narrow as it goes, focused as it goes. But those things are massive. They're just it cracked me up because I think I said in my voiceover for that video something like, the dishes are larger than 2 city buses or something. Mm-hmm. One of the comments that it just cracked me up was like, anything to avoid using the metric system, calling it in meters. Like, that's right. America. Yeah. Speaking of, there was Vern said something like, my Toyota has almost 250,000 miles,
or for those of you that use the metric system, that's almost 250,000. And somebody actually thought he was serious, which I found hilarious, and somebody commented on it. But anyway, yes, no metric system here. Freedom fractions. So the other unexpected treat for me. So when I pre-ran, the VLA was closed. I got there after 5, and so the other treat. Unexpected treat for me was Pie Town, because that was also closed when I went through there.
Yeah, it was almost closed when we went through.
Yeah,
we bought every pie in the place.
We did. We literally, and the owners ended up being real characters and super nice and everything. And they cranked out some more pies. And I mean, I think like you said, right, and they were very nice because I think we bought every pie in the place.
That's what sometimes, you slap your forehead and you're like, oh, dummy, we're there. And I'm like, oh no, we bought every pie. They're going to have to go home. And then you look over and they're making more. Oh yeah, they can make more. They actually make more.
Take what you want. We'll make more.
Yeah.
So, and we actually, even though it was a 420 mile road day, actually didn't end up being, I think we got into the hotel at 8.
Yeah, a decent hour. And there was that burger joint right near the parking lot.
Blake's Lottaburger.
Good burgers. If you're in,
if you're in New Mexico, check out Blake's Lottaburger.
Yeah, darn good. So went and got get some burgers, bag of burgers for the cronies, and we all had a good parking lot hang, like we always do on UA. That's something we don't get a lot. We didn't get a lot of on video this year. It was a parking lot hangs, but I guess there's only so much parking lot hang you can watch.
So much mild breaking of beverage consumption
open container laws and the
open container laws and everything. Yeah, well, we won't talk about that, but it's, just saying. We're technically
that is one of my favorite parts of UA, though, is even if you're not camping, you're hanging out outside together until way too late. Oh gosh, I got to get up for a driver's meeting in the morning.
Although I don't think anybody got super out of hand this time in terms of we shut it down at 2 a.m. There have been nights like that, but I don't know. I think we're all getting older and more responsible, or some combination.
Mostly older.
Mostly older. Yeah. So that leads us, I guess, into day 5, which is Farmington. We actually got to hook up with Colt Quigley from Colt Builds It. Colt was kind enough to actually not only was he kind enough to lead us, he and his wife Shanna, there in Farmington, but he also took care of one of our readers that was broken. James Jenkins had broken a ring and pinion, and he actually jetted to Farmington in advance and used Colt's shop and got fixed during our epic road day or whatever. So thanks again, Colt. I really appreciate that, and thanks again for leading us. And Farmington is Farmington, right? I mean, this is another OG awesome rock crawling destination. So.
It's I love those trails. They're so killer. I mean, they can be a little sketchy, but I think you said it in some of your voiceover in the video is, you might flop, you might roll. Sorry, my phone's dinging here. But there's no great, huge death tumble to the bottom. Have your harness on, have your belts on, be safe, have your cage. But yeah, I mean, just the traction and the scenery and just the obstacles and the dynamic nature of the angles you're hitting, it's just something else.
Oh yeah. There's nothing quite like Farmington. I remember the first time I wheeled there, I hated it just because it was so intimidating. But you get used to it. So, and that's in Farmington, a lot of those trails were actually developed by a gentleman named Harold Off. Harold was an absolute legend in the off-road community. Unfortunately, he is no longer with us, but his shop is still around. One of his sons, I believe, runs it. And that's the shop that we talked about a couple of times in the video that helped out so many of our guys that day with fixing broken parts and everything. It was Off Again Off-Road. So thanks again to Off Again Off-Road for taking such good care of our guys.
Yeah, great place, great people.
Yeah. So fantastic people overall, great family, and glad that they are carrying on in the footsteps of their dad did. So it's super cool. So and then we actually camped within eyesight of the trails that we ran that day.
Yeah,
we were right there in the Glade Run recreation area. We weren't exactly where I wanted to be. There was a big side-by-side group that unfortunately it's kind of first come, first serve out there. And so we were in another area that was not quite as flat, but almost. It worked out.
It was a good campsite. Again, and then we were prepping for crony breakfast the next morning. So we started the preparations the night before. Which
Yep.
why don't you explain what crony breakfast is for anyone? I was surprised at how much Spam we wound up buying.
Oh yeah, no. So this started years ago, and I think it was at Rick's instigation, in a suggestion that the cronies should cook everybody crony breakfast. And back when we were getting in at midnight, 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the morning, or whatever, it became a real thing to have to cook breakfast for everybody after putting in those kind of days or whatever. And so when the regime change happened, when Christians kind of took over, the cronies pretty much universally were like, yeah, we don't want to do that.
No, don't tell Christian about the breakfast.
We really don't want to do that anymore. So we're not going to tell Christian about that. Christian doesn't need to know about that. And so we quit doing it for several years. But since then, Christian and I both have done our best to take a lot of the death march aspect out of Unreal Adventure. And so we decided in honor of the 25th that that's something we'd reinstitute, which basically Cody Breakfast essentially consists of some combination of egg and burrito and either Spam, bacon, chorizo, or some combination of those three in a burrito. And they're pretty good. Don't knock Spam. I know some of you are like, ugh, Spam. You know what? It's not like it's a regular part of my diet either, but it's okay. It's okay.
Trail food.
Yeah, exactly. It's trail food.
Survival food.
So, you don't have hot, the only time I ever eat those ice cream sandwich cookies is on UA. I don't eat them any other time either. So, it's like that, sort of. Just junk food. So, anyway, so that leads us, I guess, into day 6. So,
man, the scenery in day 6 was incredible.
Oh yeah, especially right out of the gate. So we hadn't even left the Glade Run recreation area, and all of a sudden there's half a dozen hot air balloons in the air. It was but they're only like 100 feet off the deck. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah, they were coming into land, or you don't land those things with pinpoint accuracy. So I think one came down in the road, like right in front of Dave Chappelle, who had like shuttled. I think he was running Ben or someone, one of the video guys, up to get a shot of us going by, and then they got stranded behind. But yeah, what an epic drone shot! And man, those Colorado high mountain passes are just my favorite place to be. They're just so incredibly beautiful. And then, you've got the element of the history associated with them, the old mining, the capricious nature of the weather, like, are we going to get snowed on in the next 5 minutes, or is the sun going to come out? Who knows? Just wait and see. And then we had, of course, because we planned it exactly perftly. We had all that, the leaves turning on the asphalt.
It was all part of the master plan.
Yeah,
that wasn't sheer coincidence. Never.
So hey, it's better to be lucky than good. We had the same thing in Alaska when we got up there, and it's like, oh yeah, you got like 3 or 4 days of fall colors up here. It goes from like green to no leaves at all, and like we were out there, everything was orange and beautiful.
Unfortunately, everything was on fire, so we couldn't see most of it.
That too, yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it was it turns out John Denver was onto something.
Yeah.
The Rocky Mountains are actually very, very pretty, and actually we were technically in the San Juans, not the Rockies. I know we misstate that several times in the video. We were in the San Juans, but that's forgive anyone east of the Mississippi, that mountain range. There's only one mountain range that goes through Colorado, and it's the Rockies, right? Just live. All right, it's okay. You'll survive another day. But yeah, no, it was Animas Forks is one of my favorite places. I must say, I went through there on Labor Day, and oh my goodness, I didn't even stop at Animas Forks because there was no place to park.
Yeah,
it was
that's
ridiculous.
The Instagram effect. I found that vacationing in Switzerland with my wife. Like, she has family there, so we would go visit them in Switzerland, and all these little unknown places that you have to take, like, a gondola and then hike for an hour to get to. We'd go there and they wouldn't see another soul. And after Instagram, you go there and everyone's got their camera in front of their face at the, it's the spot. You got to get that selfie. Let's just say I was not super happy that day.
People. Yeah, pretty much. And I struggle with that enough as it is. But anyway, but yeah, epic day, epic road.
The best part about Animas Forks is when you get there, it's a long road, can be treacherous if you don't know what you're doing, because there's a little bit of a drop off, and then you've got like Jeep Tours that don't want to pull over, and you get to Animas Forks, and if you're in your Subaru or something, you feel like you've gotten somewhere, you've accomplished something just getting there. And then we hop in the 4x4s and we keep going up. And when you're at Animas Forks, there's quite a bit of mountain above you before you get to those peaks that we were rolling over. And then that's just where it starts getting good, man. Yeah, I could spend all summer up there.
Yeah. So I think that, and then the $1 Million Highway, of course, that's probably one of my most favorite drives in the entire world.
Yeah, I've never done it in fall before. I've done it plenty of times in summer, but that was pretty spectacular.
Super cool. So, all right, we're almost 56 minutes in at this point, so let's try and get this wrapped up. I know you've got things to do, as do I, as do probably a lot of the people watching. So thanks for sticking with us so far, if you have. So quickly through day 7.
Oh man,
day 7, die trying.
It's funny. When I went on the first UA, hardcore rock crawling was relatively in its infancy, right? We had 33-inch tires on that first UA. Greg Miller in his Bronco had 33s, and
I think I had one of the bigger tires because I had 36s on mine.
Yeah, and Cole too. Cole had 36-inch Swampers on his Chevy. We were leading with. Yeah, no, they were the big dogs. There was no tire bigger on UA that year, and I just remember die trying. We started that trail about 100 yards in. Our local leader broke something in a CJ, pulled over to the side and said, "Good luck, I'm going to town." And then we were in it by ourselves. And it was that first section. I remember jumping around with my camera, getting out, riding with Cole, jumping around with my camera, looking around, just thinking, we have no business being here. And then I haven't done that trail since. I've done Calamity Canyon, which is, on the other side of it. And I've done some other trails in Montrose. I have not been up die trying since then. And in the 25 years since that first time, I've often wondered, like, was that just my, my young, impressionable, opinion, or was that really that crazy hard? And then we got back in there. And I'm like, nope, it's the trail. It was, even today with 40-inch tires and all the modern accoutrements and fuel injection, and that is a legit trail.
I mean, it's easy if you're in a buggy, probably, but full on buggy, and even then,
or a vehicle you don't really care. But like for me in the International, like I actually care about the body in that thing. You should never get emotionally attached to the sheet metal of your trail rig. And so I was really, a lot of times I was more concerned about not putting a dent in than taking the right line. And for me, in like one of my Jeeps. Or even if I were up there in my Ram Charger, game on. Just that's the line. Sheet metal be damned. Let's go do it. So yeah, but I mean, it was very, very challenging. Good spotting. Thank you very much, Trent. And Stephen Watson is an exceptional spotter. Helped me through a couple parts too. And yeah, man, it was a good day. That we went out on a high note.
It did. It was.
and I just remember that first UA too, just when we got to that last out, you think there it is, it's over.
You're ready to kiss the
out, man.
Yeah.
That's a no joke trail start. It just doesn't let up.
Oh yeah. You're ready to just kiss the relative. Okay, this one's been graded in the last 15 years.
Yeah.
No, that's for sure. So yeah, and so that was, I agree. I think we could have ended on a better note. I think everybody killed it on that on Die Trying. I mean, they really did. No pun
but
intended.
when you're squeezing over 23, I think rigs this year. I forget how many we had.
I think it was 4. It was 4 with the van. The van.
Yeah. But and you've got rigs that just did 1,000 miles on the street. It's something. It's an accomplishment.
For
something
sure.
to be proud of.
For sure. And then of course the victory dinner. That place there. That was a lot of fun. And hopefully you guys enjoyed seeing some of the hijinks that ensued.
The Crony Awards. That is one of my favorite parts of UA every year.
For sure. Well, let's see. I'm going to try and get this wrapped up because we are right at an hour at this point. I had down on here talking about how the Hemi National did. Maybe we touched on it a little bit. Maybe let's save that for another time. So, but just real quick, the plan moving forward. So, number 1, merch. Believe it or not, we actually have some merch available. It'll be on the website right now. We are still trying to figure out how to get it on YouTube and all that stuff. But you can actually get your own version of the 2024 Unreal Adventure presented by Skyjacker shirt, the official shirt, as well as sweatshirts, and then one other cool design that features the Hemi National. So be looking out for that. And you can go to unreal-adventure.com to check that out if you'd like. And what else? We're looking at other streaming platforms for the Unreal Adventure. So we're actually in talks right now or exploring a few different options in terms of expanding Unreal Adventure beyond YouTube, which I think is cool.
Streaming platforms that'll carry the videos.
Yeah.
So you can binge watch.
Yeah, exactly. All at once. But and then I should also say that we're also working on getting this podcast onto other streaming platforms as well. That part should be a lot easier. It's just a matter of getting off our lazy butts and doing it.
Yes.
Let's see. More podcasts are coming. Like I said, we're gonna interview sponsors. We're gonna interview cronies. We've got a lot of other ideas. Like I said, maybe some of those shorter, in-depth videos on some of the trail fixes that took place during Unreal Adventure. And then last but certainly not least, this is not by any means set in stone or whatever, but Christian and I have some things in the works with possibly another event. We'll see.
Adventure Media.
We'll see. It'll be under the Adventure Media. We're not going to do anything to dilute what Unreal Adventure is, but we are going to try and carry some of that same flavor. There you go, into some other genres. So, all right. Well, we can barely see Christian anymore because it's now the sun has completely set. I am in my artificial light in my shop, so I'm still very well illuminated. But any closing thoughts, Christian?
Thanks to our sponsors, Skyjacker Suspension, IH Parts America, Milestar Tire, Offroad Design, and Quigley Custom Driveshafts for being such an integral part of UA 2024. We literally couldn't have done it without you. Please like and subscribe. And if you like what we're doing with the videos or just, or
want to throw rotten tomatoes at us, let us know that too.
Please help spread the word to grow the channel.
All right, guys. Well, with that, have a good evening, and we will catch you on the flip side. Good night, everybody.